In this section, we're going to review how to get familiarized with the Wix platform. Included in this is doing an overview of what to expect when you log into Wix. Second, doing an overview of the Wix editor. And then third, getting started with building the website. So let's begin. Once you have selected a blank template or a pre-made template, when you relog into Wix again, you're going to see all of your websites. So typically speaking, if you only have one website, when you go to My Sites, it'll take you directly to where we're going to go now. But if you do have multiple sites, which is common because you may have several businesses or you might have tried out Wix using different templates, what you'll have to do is you'll hover and then you will select which site you would like to edit. Always be careful of which site you're editing because typically when you start from something that is blank, you may find that there isn't an overview here on the screen showing you the design. But once you've designed these sites, you're going to see the actual pictures of the website. So we're going to click directly on here for Test 2, select an Edit Site, and we're taken to the next screen that looks like this. Right here, we have Test 2, we have the role, me being the owner, and then you see the site here. If you wanted to go directly to the Wix editor, you would click here on Site Actions and you would go right here to Edit Site. This would invoke the Wix editor and you could start immediately with making changes to the site. But it is also important to understand what we have here on this page. Right now you're in the dashboard section. So going back to Site Actions, you can edit your site, you can view your live site, you can also rename your site, which if you have a domain name connected, you really don't have to worry about renaming it. But for the purposes of having kind of like the site in a test version, if you are going to share this URL, you might want to go ahead and rename it. You can duplicate your site, which is great if, let's say, you wanted to test something out, but you didn't want to do it in the actual site that's public. You could, of course, duplicate. You can transfer your website to another account, which will take the website and it'll move it to another account where there's a separate login. You can add a contributor, which will give someone the opportunity to have a permission inside of your site, either being an editor or a viewer. And then you can, of course, move your site to the trash. Lastly, there is an opportunity to create new site. But if you remember on the previous page, there were two sites listed that we had, Test and Test 2, and then next to it, you could still create a new site there. So those are your site actions. The next thing is, it shows you your domain name. Currently, there's nothing connected, but if you did want to connect your domain, you could go ahead and click that. Right here, it shows you the website plan you've signed up for, so of course you can compare plans. Mailbox not connected, but you can purchase an email. And then, of course, for the Ascend plan, you can also compare those plans too. Now we're going to scroll down just a bit, and it's showing you the steps that you have, which are pretty much preliminary to getting your site live. So it's saying connect your domain, getting found on Google, and getting ready for business. Now, these aren't steps that you have to go through. In no way whatsoever. This is just Wix putting together kind of a plan to give you an overview of what you may want to have. So all of these are suggestions. Scrolling down here to the bottom, there are some tips from the Wix blog. And I really like this because it is a blog that's hosted via Wix and they always have new and fresh content. So if you'd like to check this out, all you have to do is click on See All, and over time you can read more of the articles that they have released. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we'll go right back up here to the top. And before we get out of the dashboard view, I did want to point out one thing, which is you can always use the search here at the top and you can put in tools, apps, or help. And this is going to be at the top regardless of if you move from any section over here to another. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is we will go to Customer Management. And what this deals with is if you have a form on your website, if anyone has submitted a message via the form, it is going to show up over here. Also, if you have anything via a subscribe form, you'll also see this here under Inbox. Another thing is there is a bell icon at the top, so anytime you receive any notifications for submissions, you're going to see that there. The bell icon will also give you other notifications as well, so no worries there. Contact list. This is going to show you, again, anyone that has contacted you, but to actually see the message, it's always best to go directly into the inbox. Now, it's great because these contact lists will give you the ability to export. So if you ever wanted to use another provider such as MailChimp, you could, of course, export all of the different emails that you've collected, and then you can import them into another tool. To do this, you would, of course, filter by right here, customers contact. It really just depends on the different lists that you have. And then you would go to more actions and you would export them out. You also have the option to import, which means if you have an email list, let's say via your email provider, or if you've used another tool, you can of course import these in the inside of Wix. The next area we're going to is manage. I will click on automations. This is where you will identify what automations you want to go out to the customer, let's say when they go ahead and fill out a form. So if you'd like to thank the visitors for contacting you, if you would like to also, let's say at the time of when a user signs up as a member on your site, if you want to invite them to subscribe, all of these are options to you, and it's related to things that automatically should go to customers once they have taken a certain action on your website. The next thing are workflows. This isn't something that you have to have, but it's a good way of looking at the steps for, let's say, when a lead is created, when someone's contacted you, when a price quote has been sent, invoices sent. This is a really good way of staying organized, and it's also a way of identifying steps. All you have to do is click on new, and then you would add the information beneath these particular sections. Right here are tasks and reminders. This is a great way for you to, of course, stay organized. You don't have to use Wix as a tool for tasks and reminders. This is just a great option because if it's a task related to your website, it can stay directly in the back end of your website provider, which is Wix. Right here are site members. So anyone that is signed up as a member on your website, you will see it listed here on this page. This is a database of your members. So usually an individual will sign up on your website to become added as a member, but you can of course go ahead and add them yourself once you have added that members area, and this is that area to do that. Right here for getting paid, there are price quotes and invoices. I'll click here on price quote and we'll allow this to load. And you can go ahead and create your first price quote, and then if you would like to create an invoice, you would go to the invoices section and you would create an invoice. Now, some people have questions, which is, do I have to do this here? And the answer is no. If you have another provider like Square or Stripe or PayPal, you can generate invoices there. But again, if you are collecting leads via the website and you feel as if by using Wix it keeps everything together, you could of course send out invoices and quotes here, and there are many options in these sections as well, so don't hesitate to check these out. Now we're going to go back to main menu and we are going to go to marketing tools. Now this may be a bit premature for some of you guys because you're not done with your site yet, but it doesn't hurt to familiarize yourself with where the specific items are. So under Marketing Home, this is an overview of marketing as a whole. So first it says get found on Google. This is related to search engine optimization, and this will take you through the steps of being found via search engines. You can also create an email campaign, promote on social media, and of course you can integrate more tools. One thing I love about Wix is that it has its own newsletter system, so once you've collected email addresses, you can send out emails as well. You can of course share a social media post. You can make a promotional video, and it says here all of the marketing tools that are available to you. So for you guys, you're going to have to, of course, identify what your customized marketing plan is. A lot of people feel as if that because you go through these steps, it means you're automatically going to be found, but you have to do some research on best practices in your industry. And then of course, if you have something that's different about your business, maybe what may be a good way of going about marketing that particular feature, or really whatever it is that's going to have you stand out. So definitely take some time doing the research, and then of course you guys can leverage these tools when you're ready to get started with marketing. Going back here to the main menu, we're now going to go to settings. So I'll click directly on settings, and all of this is related to your website. So of course, take some time to get to know these areas as well. This is your plan that you have. You can upgrade. You go to domain name. You can connect your domain name or manage it. It does say your site is published. So if you ever want your website to not be live, you can unpublish it. You have your site name, your site address. Site history is great. And I'll tell you why it's great. It's because you can always restore your website to a previous version. So if you've made a mistake and then you've clicked on publish and you've exited out of the editor, it's not as if that you can click on undo. So you can go to restore previous versions, and what you can do is you can see what the previous version was and you can restore it to that point of time, which of course would undo that mistake. So over time you'll see all of your revisions, things that you've published, saved, and of course starred. These are the ones that you've starred as a version, and when you click on it, it'll show you to the right that version of it, and then you can restore it to that point in time. Going back over here, there's general information. This is where you can put in your contact email, name, and location. Your favicon is what you're going to see right here on the tab in a browser. Social media for sharing preferences. Roles and permissions, which is different than members. Some people get confused. Your members, as we went through under customer relationship management, were your members for your site. These are your customers. For roles and permissions, these are the roles and permissions for your site. So if you do remember under site actions, when we were on that dashboard, you can add a contributor. All of your contributors and your pretty much admins are going to be listed here. So you can always add a new contributor by clicking on add, and then of course you can identify which role you'd like them to have. Don't forget to put on that email, and then you send out that invite. Okay, so now we're going to go back to overview. We're going to scroll down a bit, and then the next section is search engines. So we of course went over marketing, but of course you can click on manage to see what you have as far as being found on search engines. Okay, these are just a few more options. It is important to make sure that this right here toggle is enabled to be found in search results. For some of you guys, if you're looking in search engines after you've gone to the marketing steps and you're like, I can't be found, it might be because your SEO status is not enabled. So always come over to SEO under overview and settings to make sure that of course you have that set for enabled. Right here, this is where you can update your analytics. So if you'd like to use Google Analytics, you can do this. This is what's going to show you guys what you have on your site in terms of traffic. You can manage this by adding in a new tool. And then the last thing under overview is what we have for HTTPS and SSL. So there are a lot of questions around SSL. Why do I have to have this? Should I have it? And the real answer to that is yes, you should, because if not, you may find that at the top of your browser, it says the website is not secured, which means you do not have an SSL certificate. SSL stands for Secure Socket Layer. It's very technical, but really it's just adding another layer of security for your site. I would strongly recommend it, especially if you are collecting payments on your website. So you can, of course, click on that, and then it says this is secured. But if it is not, you guys can go to the process of learning more and identifying where you can get that SSL certificate. Now, one thing I do have to point out is that if your domain name provider is outside of Wix, if you have it with, let's say, GoDaddy or Network Solutions, you may have to purchase it there. So always make sure you're taking the time to understand securing and obtaining an SSL certificate. Next section is general information. This is where you're going to put in your contact information. You're putting in your email, your phone, fax number if you have that. Scrolling down, you can put in basic information about your website. Your favicon, you know how to add this, of course, too. This is what's at the top right here on the tab. And then you can put in your location and your regional settings as well. Right here under premium subscriptions, this is the next section under settings, you will see your subscriptions. So with Wix, you can have a general subscription where your website is just upgraded. And let's say if you're going to have an informational website, that's great. But if you're going to have a store, or if you're going to have booking on your website and you use Wix booking, you of course are going to want to go ahead and check these things out here as well to make sure that you have the right things purchased and you are aware of when they are eligible for renewal. You will also receive these notifications via email too, so don't worry about checking back here. It will always pretty much tell you when you have to renew your plan. The next things are your domain names. If you do have a domain name provided from Wix.com, great. You'll have the ability to connect. If you don't, then you can of course connect one you already own and it will take you through steps, and then you can buy one too. Going to mailboxes, you can purchase an email, so you can go ahead and connect your domain name and get your email squared away. Accepting payments, yes, you can accept payments via any of these providers down here, PayPal, Alipay, Manual, and the Square Card Reader. You have more SEO settings. You also have a few social settings as well. You have notifications, which is important because you, of course, may want to identify how you're being notified. So typically speaking, you're going to get a lot of emails, but you can have desktop notifications too. You can also get notified via mobile, and of course, you can identify what you want to pop up on your dashboard. I would say in general, it's best to leave it. Just, of course, if you're afraid that you're going to miss anything, at least you have that right here. And via this bell icon, you'll see a lot of these notifications. And then, again, these are roles and permissions. Right here, we have under production tools, release manager. So right here, this is how we deploy a new version to your site. And generally speaking, you don't have to do this. A lot of people, they just go ahead and they save their changes directly in the Wix editor, and then they just take a look at how it looks. But for some of you guys, you may want to deploy it and to kind of test it out before you go live to your audience, so you can go to the process of having releases. And all of this is taking one version of your site, testing it out, and this is before you go to production, which means that you're going live with those changes. For some people, this is confusing, I have to be honest with you, but for people that are a bit more technical, and for those that really just want to do a lot of QA testing, this may be beneficial to you. We already went over tracking and analytics. We do have some inbox settings, so you guys will be getting some notifications around inbox, which is what you have received directly via your customers. So they could have sent a message or they could have subscribed to something, and you may want to, of course, put in some settings around how this also shows up for you. So when you do get this notification, how do you want it to show in your email inbox? We have integrations, and we also have notifications. And then we already went over quotes and invoices, but here you can put in some settings related to that. So this is all in reference to when you send out a quote or when you send out an invoice. Okay? And this is what we have all under advanced settings. We're going back to main menu, and then the last thing is apps. So via Wix, you have the opportunity to add in a variety of applications. A lot of these are provided directly via Wix. Wix Form, Wix Chat, comments. You can, of course, type in different options as well, such as gallery, and you can see you can get a Wix Pro Gallery, Wix Photo Albums, and so forth. And what I'm going to start with is just the Wix Pro Gallery. I'll click it. You can see an overview of it. It shows you a demo, features, reviews, and so forth. But this is how you would add apps in, and of course, you can just search by the category. Some of these are free and some of these are premium, which means there is a cost affiliated. So as you guys are finding that you want to add in additional features to your website, go ahead and check this out via the app market. Now, in another lecture, I am going to go over the app market in depth, so I won't do it here. This is just an opportunity for you guys to also see where it is kind of like in the overview side of Wix as opposed to going into the Wix editor. Now, one thing that is very important is manage apps. Even though in the Wix editor you might have gone on and added in the app there, you of course want to see what you have installed, because if there is a cost that is affiliated, it might be better for you guys to see it as an overview view here to know if, let's say, you'd like to upgrade a particular application, or if you'd like to cancel and or stop that payment for that application. So checking out under Manage Apps in addition to your premium plans is a really good way of seeing what your operational costs are for maintaining your website. Now we're going to go back to Main Menu, and we're going to go back to Dashboard, and I believe we are now ready to go into the Wix editor.